Welcome back to Titus Talent Talks. I'm Jonathan Reynolds, your host, and I'm sitting here with Danielle Torrez, Senior Director of Marketing at Titus Talent. It is good to have you here, Danielle.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
You just flew all the way in from San Antonio to Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
That's right, San Antonio. This is my first time ever being at the Titus Talent office.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and I've been with Titus now 2 years. This is my first time stepping foot inside this wonderful place.
How's it feel?
It feels a little surreal because we do so much video here. So seeing it in person, it looks completely different.
Yeah.
Which means that our video guy must be a genius because
Totally, he is.
he can transform this space.
Sitting right there.
Don't tell anybody. He's right behind the camera.
So is it bigger than you thought, smaller than you thought?
It's bigger than I thought. There's a lot of different sections than I thought.
Am I bigger than you thought, or no? Just kidding.
No, but you do look like you've been working out.
Yes,
Have you?
right. No, not at all.
Not at all?
Not at all.
I don't know
I
if
like
you're
you, though.
I don't know that you're
Let's
telling me the
give you
truth.
a raise.
Are you serious?
Yeah, we'll give you a raise for that. Is that what you meant? No, okay.
No, I mean, are you
No,
serious?
not really. I am training a little bit. I have my 20th wedding anniversary is coming up, and we decided to do something pretty wild. We're going to go and hike the Inca Trail in Peru.
What?
Yeah, I'm
That
gonna
is
fly
very
into
cool.
Lima and Machu Picchu and Inca Trail.
Yeah.
So it's quite a lot of hiking, like about up to about 10 miles a day at 12,000 feet. So it's quite high.
So you're getting ready for that.
I am trying to do it in a way that doesn't seem like brutal and grueling, but actually enjoyable.
Okay.
Tying
yeah.
it into, I don't want to do this thing that's supposed to be really enjoyable, but I have to just beat my body until I get there. And then I'm like, this sucks, you know?
Yeah.
I actually want the whole experience to be an enjoyable experience. So,
I agree with that. I'm a
yeah.
big fan of consistency, big fan of taking big steps.
Yeah.
Doing hard things, but like working your way up to it. I need to actually like my life.
Yeah.
So I find that for instance, I told the marketing team, this is the year I'm doing a half marathon. It's on the bucket list. I'm going to conquer it.
Yeah.
I signed up for a November half marathon. So it does mean that I have to increase my running efforts.
Yeah.
But I find that just if you tackle it little by little, by the time I get there, I should be like piece of cake.
What's your most you're running right now?
Right now, well, it's 100 degrees where I'm living. So you wake up in the morning and it's already 90.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I'm not doing much. I'm maybe max 6 miles, but
Okay.
I still have like the 2 months, September and October, to really increase my mileage.
Yeah. I trained for a half marathon one time, and that was just enough. It was great. My wife and I never actually did the half marathon, but we trained.
Just the training.
We got all the way through, we did all the training, and then we went on a family camping trip, and we were like, how do we train, leave our kids in a tent? They were really young. Like,
Oh,
what are you
yeah.
gonna do? Run, go for a
Go
run?
one at a time.
So
When
we
there's a will, there's a way,
yeah,
right?
well, we didn't have a will, so there was no way.
That's the problem. There was no will.
Okay, bit of a backstory. You have a whole history of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, that is true.
You are like I'm a business owner rather than an entrepreneur, but you are more definition entrepreneur. You've got a lot of things going on. You're a big visionary, ideator, dreamer, but you're somebody who puts those dreams into reality. You've already talked about having goals, setting big, challenging goals, and going for it. Tell us a bit of Danielle's story as an entrepreneur.
Well, all right. So we got to start like from the beginning, because I
Yeah.
feel like it explains so much.
Yeah.
So when I was about 6 years old, I just wanted to read Fortune 500 and like Forbes magazine and things like that. And I didn't know if I wanted to be that level, of a Fortune 500 CEO. But I was really drawn to that idea of working hard, making a difference in the world. At that time, it wasn't like the vision was more the money
Yeah.
and the being well known than it
Yeah.
was like generosity or like making
Sure.
an impact or
Yeah.
the things that are actually really important to me now.
Yeah.
But I said, okay, well, I'm 6. I got to start somewhere. So what are we doing? I'm talking to my sisters like, come on, like, let's get something off the ground.
Yeah.
So I started a company called Kids Working for You. And I hired all the kids in the neighborhood and we outbid everybody for lawn care.
Oh,
So
come
that was
on.
like my first business venture. And then my sisters and I were in business together, but it was through singing.
Yeah.
So did that for about 13 years. And then, so my part in that, other than actually the performance, was the marketing aspect, making sure our financials were solid,
Yeah.
all of the, the merchandise and all of those things,
Yeah.
hiring and firing.
Yeah.
That's my sisters always made me do that. So, that gave me just a huge understanding of what it
Yeah.
takes to run a successful business for over a decade.
Yeah.
And then from there, when I just ventured into events and things like that, and I have a problem with doing things small. So I'm always like, and how can we do this bigger? So it went from just regular events that I wanted to throw to parties with CMA and parties for the Titans. I was living in Nashville, Tennessee at the time, so Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
And Nashville Predators, and did a Justin Timberlake after party, and just
Come on.
random entrepreneurial efforts. But that all led to a company called Experience Global, where I went from vice president of sales and marketing to COO to CEO and part owner. And with that, we did patient experience specifically for healthcare. And it was all based on the Disney principles of excellence.
Yes, come on.
So that's what I really, put my life into during my time in Nashville. And then in 2019, I laid all of that down. I just had twin boys. And I was just like, okay, I need a new chapter.
Yeah.
So went to San Antonio, and here I am.
And you've got more than 2 twins. How many do you have?
Well, I only have.
Oh, sorry.
I only
2.
have one pair of
One
twins.
pair of twins.
Yeah, so I have 4 kids.
Yeah.
The ones in the middle are 2 twin boys.
And they're between what ages, all 4?
I got a 6-year-old girl, twin 5-year-old boys, and then a 2-year-old girl. So they got sandwiched in there between all these entrepreneurial efforts.
Yeah.
I was also became a wife and a mom, and can't do anything small.
Yeah.
So I had to have the most kids in the shortest amount of time. I don't know if I meant to do that.
Who are you competing with? Like, do you have siblings that you're competing with?
No.
Is there competition among the siblings?
I am highly competitive against myself only. Wow. So, when you do like strengths finders or things like that, I've always been competitive. But if it's me versus you, I'm like, no, I want you to win. Like, I will champion the other person.
Yeah.
And I'm not competitive towards other people. But when it comes to myself, highly competitive.
When you read the description of competition in Strength Finder, the theme, is it different? Is your definition competition with yourself? Does it describe it that way?
It doesn't. Which is why I don't really ascribe to any of these behavioral or personality assessments completely.
Completely, sure.
I think that as humans, we can get so into, I'm a this and I'm a that. And then we kind of corner ourselves and we decide, this is how I want to present to the world. This is my tribe. This is who I am.
Yeah.
And it stifles us from growing into the person that we ought to be.
Yeah.
And so I try to take those things lightly and never ascribe my identity to them.
Yeah.
So, for instance, I was in a board meeting just last week, and someone says, hey, you seem like you'd be a great salesperson. What's your Myers-Briggs? Tell me your Myers-Briggs, your Strengths Finders, your Enneagram. And I can rattle them off, just like anybody can.
Yeah.
But he said, wait, some of those are in contradiction with each other. And I said, well, that's a good thing, because that probably means that I've grown as a human being and I'm no longer just held to the attributes of being a 7-wing 8 on Enneagram or, and I always encourage other people in that as well. Like you can get into the personality assessments. You can, for instance, behavioral, we do the predictive index. I'm a maverick.
Yeah.
But just because I'm a maverick doesn't mean I can't grow in the areas of being detailed, for instance, or being consistent or following up or, running a big team, things like that.
It is easy to get stuck in those sort of labels, isn't it? What's a label that you've felt put upon you that you're like, I totally reject that. Like, I don't want to be under that label.
That's a good question. Probably famous.
Famous.
I hate that label so much.
So someone says, "Oh, Danielle, she's famous," and you're like, squirm.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Anything that has to do with fame. I like notoriety,
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, I've heard of you, or your work has spoken for you. Fame is different.
Yeah.
So when people consider you famous and you walk into the room stops and everyone just stares at you, conversations end. Nobody has anything interesting
Right.
to say because it's all about you. And I just have found, I lived so much of my life like that, and everybody wanting to serve you, but also take from you.
Yeah.
It's a very demanding title.
I wouldn't know. So I wouldn't know.
Maybe one day.
One day. See, I want that label so desperately. Please, will people? No, I'm kidding.
You definitely don't. I can attest that you fight me on anything that has to do with fame. But yeah.
That's great. What's a label that you have not known? Well, you've mentioned notoriety, but is there another label? Label's probably not the right word. Yeah, we'll call it label for now. That you would aspire to. That you're like, I really would like people to say this about me.
That's a hard one because as an entrepreneur, there are so many different visions in your heart.
Yeah.
So it's like, do I want to be known as the person who is a great builder? Do I want to be known as a visionary? Do I want to be known as just a great mom and wife?
Yeah.
Do I want to be known as, I'm a believer, so is it just child of God? Is that the only identity that really matters? I'd probably have to go with that one.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, secondary to that, child of God, mom, wife, for sure.
Yeah.
But I think room changer would be a good one.
Room changer. All right,
Yeah.
I'll talk about that.
I really feel like it's important that wherever you go, the people that are around you are improved, blessed, helped, served, inspired some way because you're there. So I find that if I'm in a room and it made no impact, then why was I in the room?
Yeah.
So I
That's
think
great.
room changer would be
love that.
an important one for me.
Wow. Well, that's a good, I mean, I wasn't planning on leading this into that, but you came and you changed the room or the space of Titus when you came in, and we had this seat of marketing, and we needed somebody to lead the way there as who gets all of our values, aligns with all of those things, but brings in something unique, which you certainly have. Well, talk about that coming from entrepreneur to intrapreneur and doing all of these things in Titus. Like, why Titus? Why did you join us? What did you hope to be as far as a room changer goes? What was that kind of hope?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a couple of things just for anyone going from being an entrepreneur to wanting, maybe it's the steadiness of a job. For me, I remember my husband, when we moved to San Antonio, he said, babe, I love that you do a lot and you're able to do a lot, but we have a lot of kids now. And so if you could not start another company until they go to school, that would be really helpful. Yeah. And he was trying to say this without squashing all of my entrepreneurial heart, if you will. And I agreed. That's just the season we were in. So when I was looking for where's my next home, like what can I give myself to, I decided that I was looking for a visionary or a leader that I could get behind, which is incredibly important for if you're used to being the leader in the room and you're going to choose to follow somebody and see their vision come to life, well, they better be worth it. Yeah. So that's one thing I was looking for. Two would be like a company vision I could get behind. Yeah. As an entrepreneur, like if a company is going somewhere and you're not aligned, it's going to be incredibly difficult because you're going to have such a heavy point of view about where the ship should be steered, you know? And I've seen so many times where entrepreneurs get a job and instead of helping the company, they're just frustrated all the time. It's just like, it turns into maybe some backbiting or some, some grumbling, if you will.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is what we should be doing. No one's listening, but I
Yeah.
told them,
Yeah.
So that's obviously garbage. You don't want that. So for me, it was finding a company that had a vision where I felt like, yes, this is where I want to, this is the ship I want to sit on with the captain.
Yeah,
I want to
totally.
report to, if you
Totally.
will. And then finally, I would say looking for somewhere where I can build.
Yeah.
Like entrepreneurs, we're kind of opportunists. So we just look for the opportunity, if it's the problem, if it's, a way to make a bigger impact faster, whatever it is, it's opportunity.
Yeah.
So if you're going from entrepreneur to intrapreneur, you want to be able to identify, like, where am I needed in this organization?
Yeah.
And so a lot of people will say, okay, well, where's the most money, for instance?
Yeah.
But then you just have on golden handcuffs. Like, you're not inspired in your work. There's nowhere to go. You reached for the top in the beginning, and then you're just kind of bored.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's like, where can I go where I'm going to be stretched and challenged? Where can I go that I can build something where it's not already done for me, and I'm not just, taking over another leader's shoes and making it my own. I'm actually building it from the ground up.
Yeah.
So that's all what drove me to Titus, and also what I would say to anybody else that is an entrepreneur that's looking to come inside of a company.
Oh, I felt really, really humbling. Honestly, I think you're amazing.
Thank you.
And obviously your skills and impact that you've made here has been awesome. But I just feel like really humble just that you, as an entrepreneur, choose to be here and throw your gifts and talents and skills, and you keep growing as well. Like, you're always ideating, going, oh, what if we did this? What if even when you said that, how do we make it bigger? How do we do it? Like, I always see that, every time we do anything, I'm like, I'll have like his idea. I'm like, what if we do this? And it's kind of like, that was great. How do we scale this? How do we go bigger? I'm like, oh, didn't think about that. I was on for the next thing. I was like, what about something completely different? But you always like, you are a builder. You're somebody who, you intently listen. That's something I really appreciate about you. You don't, well, you're not like me. I just jump to the end. I'm like, all right, well, is this a long story? Like, where are we going? What's the point of this story? But you're like, really intently take it all in, hear what's going on, or an idea or something like that. And like, what about this? What about this? Why, what's the objective here? And then you kind of unpack it and start painting a picture. And I'm like, oh, it's so, I don't know, just a real skill and a gift that you have,
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Even just that sense of, I think when it comes to marketing and branding and storytelling, there's, being a visionary and entrepreneur yourself, you could easily take something off a completely different direction. And we probably wouldn't realize it for a while. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, the whole kind of adage of like, you turn 2 degrees and you're going to end up, you're not going to be in New York. You're going to be somewhere in, the North Pole if you leave London. And I'm like, you could do that and we wouldn't know until it's too late when it comes to branding and storytelling, messaging and marketing and all of the works. But you really have kind of seek to understand what the big picture is, and then you paint this beautiful journey to get there. And I just deeply appreciate it.
Thank
you. Feel
you.
such a trust with you, and that's why you're on the senior leadership team, because you're shaping the direction of the company.
Well, thanks. It feels good to be trusted. It really does.
Yeah.
But I think for me, these are things that I have to come to on my own. I have to want to build according to the vision of the company, and that goes back to what, if you're looking to make that jump, you need to know these things on the front end.
Yeah.
Because there's just nothing worse than having a vision and being shut down at every point. So you have to know that, like, no, this is the vision that I want to build. Something else you said in there, you were talking about intently listening and all of that, and not always starting something new. So that's actually an insecurity that I have. I have an insecurity that I will never make a big enough difference because I'm not all visionary. It's
Really?
a personal insecurity. Yeah. I talk to my husband about it all the time, and he's like, don't worry, Danielle.
Because
you're fine.
Because, like, one of the reasons being because you're, I'll say it like there's an employee versus the employer.
No, because I'm like in the middle point between a visionary and an integrator. So
okay.
I have big ideas, but I also can see all the steps that are needed to make the big idea come to pass, if you will.
Yeah.
So I'll push a new idea, but I can kind of see the end from the beginning. So sometimes I wonder if that trait is a positive or a negative. It's just,
okay.
it's an internal wrestling that I have that
Yeah.
maybe I'm too practical.
Well, I wonder if it's, and this is just a wonder right now, I'm wondering if maybe like, because I mean, you have a lot of creatives on your team.
Yeah.
As far as marketing goes, natural. You've got creative dreamers and visionary people. You know, they see things before.
Throughout the entire organization. Yeah, for sure.
But they see things that are not yet. And that's a frustrating place to be because you can't make it. You want it to be reality right now. And you want to put it into action. And that's, you and your team are like that. They're like, can we do this already? What do we need? Where are the resources? Where are the,
Yeah.
and that's where you have both sides of your, the kind of, I don't know, probably the visionary and integrator going, okay, we're running a business here. It needs to be within the budget. So we need to listen. It's probably like your own internal wrestle. Like, I hate even the sound of the words coming out of my mouth. I want to be dreaming about this, and then you got a whole team of people like, yeah, Danielle, let's do it. Anyway, I just imagine some of the, I think probably I have this privilege of being in that visionary seat for the whole company where people are like, they can roll their eyes and be like, oh, he's just doing his visionary thing and I can get away with it. But you probably feel a different I don't know, tension inside.
Well, for sure.
Being grounded at the same time.
Well, because these things have to happen. I have to make them happen. Things have to be produced. Results need to be had. I was listening to Craig. I can never say his last name. Groeschel.
Yeah.
Groeschel. I'm going to get real Southern. Craig Groeschel. I was listening to a podcast by him, and he was talking about middle leaders, managing down, managing up.
Yeah.
And there is so much of that where you're constantly like, okay, this is the vision. I'm going to make it happen for my team. But also I know what the team is capable of. So I have to manage up, if you will, to make sure that the dreams and desires and the passions of my team are also coming into actuality, as well as the more, organizationally more important, the dreams of the executive team becoming a reality as well. So it's a fun tension. I would say wouldn't say it's a stressful thing.
Yeah.
Probably because I am trusted and given the ability to run. So there are parameters that can feel a little tight sometimes, but.
All right. Help me unpack this a little bit because I don't really have a question, but it's just a thought.
Okay.
When you're starting off a business, you're like totally flexing. Well, I'll speak. Nobody else. Me. When I started Titus, I'm totally flexing to try and show that we're bigger and better than we really are. Right? It's kind of like me and my team, and you're like, what team? There is no team. It's just you. I'll get our team on this. I'm like, well, we had one employee back then. I'm like, so I came back to the office. I'm like, all right, you're the team. You're going in here. We're going to do this thing, which I made it sound like we've been doing this forever, but we're going to do it for the very first time. You kind of like stretch and flex. And that's, I think that's an interesting kind of the beginning stage of the business. Then here we are, going on a couple of hundred employees. Did you see I just did that? 175 employees, but it's a couple of hundred because that's what the story is. You tell this like bigger story. I didn't even mean to. I'm just saying, just elaborating on this whole story. And then there's bigger. I really deeply care about purpose and meaning, like you do. Obviously, that's the part that attracted you here. Like, oh, we're going to be doing something that's meaningful and significant in the world and making the world a better place and purposeful. How do you tell a story when you're like wanting to tell this big story about how world changing we are, but sometimes the stories are just real simple? Do you know what I mean?
I don't think anyone's that interested in a simple story, to be honest with you. I don't think it. And I don't think that's just me.
Yeah.
Even stories like that are seemingly simple have so many layers and so many different points of connection. And most of them are built on some human aspiration we have. So it is pretty useless to me for a company to tell a story of where they are or to, in their sales and marketing, say, here's exactly who we are. One, because things are always changing. People are always growing. Companies are never staying the same, right? If you are, you're actually decreasing instead of increasing. So in sales and marketing, the big thing is to be honest about where you are, but you should always be selling a future story.
Yeah,
you should always be telling something aspirational. You should always be telling something also with layers. So Titus, for instance, what do? We do hiring, we do talent optimization, we do training, right? All of these things are completely true. But we also have a passion to change the world.
Yes.
And here's how we're doing it.
Okay.
Like it's a layered story.
Totally.
And that's what really piques people's interest. They don't just want to partner because it's like, we have this many employees, we do really good work, we have a great fill rate. It's like, okay, yes, those may be the things that keep people around, but when you're engaging people, you want to tell them about the future. All aspirational. So.
Oh, I love that. Okay, that really helps me just to feel probably a bit more secure. Because I do live in this, like, hey, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing, and people are like,
and that's what people want to follow.
Yeah.
No one wants to follow where you are right now. Because it would mean that you're just going to be stagnant. A vision is all about where you're going, and the better and stronger of a vision you have, and the more people can trust that you are the type of person that can make that vision a reality, then the more people are going to want to follow you.
I think there's probably that sense of like, how early adopters, they're willing to take this risk, on this journey. They're like, okay, I believe in this, I want to be a part of it. And then there's a whole bunch of people who are like, I'm not going to be the early adopter. I'll see if it fails. I'll see if this works. I'm not getting in that car that's electric powered. It's going to run out of battery. I'm not doing it, until everyone's driving on the road and like, all right, have we got enough charging stations? Are we going to be able to get to the destination? Okay, now I'm in, I remember we had that early on. We had probably less than 20 something people. And there was somebody that we'd interviewed, gone through the whole process, and they were like, yeah, I mean, I love it all. You're just a little bit too wild and crazy and not structured. And I don't know if this has got all of the benefits that I need in this. And then years later, they join us.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, yeah, but even when I say, don't you wish you'd come sooner? It's kind of like, no. I wanted you to figure out your stuff. You know, so.
The process, the trust, all of that sort of stuff.
So how do you see your role, or maybe more for other listeners, when you got business owners and visionaries and integrators, and somebody's listening, they're in a marketing role at an organization that's entrepreneurial. What would your advice be to them about, like, how to tell the story of where you're going, how you're going to get there versus the reality?
I would say work on yourself, first of all, because if you're not able to communicate a large vision, or if you have it, maybe it's in your head and you're like, no, we're just going to do great things and we're going to, nobody can follow that. So working on communication, working on figuring out what your vision actually is, so that when you say it to people, they can understand it, they can digest it, and they can, even if people don't fully understand, they're going to watch and see, so you hear those crazy visionaries, or you see Elon Musk, for instance, we're going to go to Mars, right? It's like his life's purpose. Do we really think he's going to get there? Like there's I don't know. If somebody could do it, it's probably him, but is he? But certainly, we're watching, right? We're aware that there is a vision. It has been proclaimed. He knows exactly what he's going after. And so whoever it is in sales, marketing, you just want to make sure that you understand your vision clearly. It can be in the distance, or it can be the vision for next year. It doesn't matter. But work on yourself, work on communicating and understanding what you have to say. And then when you are able to say it, people will start to believe it.
Yes. Oh, that's cool. I like that. You mentioned, one last question here. Your husband said, can you just not start any more companies until? And I was like, tell me about this until, because you said, until my kids have gone to school. What would be...
Well, he meant more in the CEO role.
Are you... okay. Do you keep a list of like, I want to launch this, I have another idea for this, and you're kind of like,
Yes.
ready to go. I can't wait to create that.
I do have a visions list,
Yeah.
a goals list. I think what I'm building right now is very long term.
Yeah.
It's probably a 20-year goal to decrease economic inequality in neighborhoods that are being gentrified. So for me, it's a lot of research. It's a lot of planning. It's a lot of figuring out which real estate I need to purchase
Yeah.
to make that happen, what organizations I need to partner with
Yeah.
so that the little that I'm doing will go much farther.
Ooh, I love
So
it.
these are the things that I am doing in the background. I have a meeting here in Milwaukee, actually, about this exact topic this week. So I don't really bring those into the conversation at Titus, but this is what fuels my personal passion
Yeah.
and allows me to be a great employee
Yeah.
because I don't feel stifled in any way. And that entrepreneurial or visionary part of me,
Yeah.
it's still at work, but it's under the surface. It's just germinating and, rumbling in there, and it's growing.
Yeah.
But it's not, I've been able to identify a vision that doesn't need all of me.
Wow.
It just needs
that's
me
cool.
to learn, really, and to make small steps.
It's magnetic. Even just hearing you say that, I'm like, okay, I can't wait to when this camera turns off. I want to hear more about this. And I'm like, okay, how do I mean, I just get excited about that stuff. So hearing people's what's in their heart, the dreams, visions that they have, things that they bucket lists, or like, I'm gonna change the world in this neighborhood or this part of the the world.
Yeah.
It's great. I love it. Well,
Yeah, little by little. It's just that consistency, right? Like
Yeah.
the same thing with my running.
Yeah.
It's just like a little bit bigger goal,
Yeah.
bit bigger goal. And right now, as a wife and a mom, and as a intrapreneur and an entrepreneur, that's just what fits my life the best.
I love it. Oh, I mean, I just feel so privileged to have you here on this team and helping us really just paint the story, help us get to where we're going.
Yeah.
But even just hearing that parallel story of things that are going on in you, I'm like, that's the kind of people I love being around. Who are, it's not all fulfilled in this one box, but there's all of these things that are going on over there
Yeah.
and here and there, and I'm in.
Complex stories are more interesting.
Yes,
right?
yes.
It is.
Oh, we should do a story on that. Cool.
Next time.
Well, we're here for our quarterly offsite with our senior leadership team, and for the next couple of days. So I'm pumped about that too. Sitting in a room with you for the next few days. So
Yes, it's
thank
going to be
you.
fun. Thanks for having me on the podcast. This is great.
You're welcome. I'm welcome. Thanks.